Evening, everyone, and I want to welcome everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. The public hearing this Tuesday, May the 6th, 2025. Roll call. I would declare that all the councillors are present. I would also note that the Municipal Government Act deems that council members that are not in attendance at a public hearing are ineligible to vote on the issue at the related upcoming council meeting. In a public hearing, the council's role is to hear the staff presentation as well as comments from the public on the file and information presented. There will be no debate. However, any member of council may ask questions of clarification to either the staff or of the public. So the first item on of business this evening is an application to rezone the property at 7015 Highway 1 Coldbrook to permit the development of a retail store. Perry Bowman, municipal planner, will be presenting. Ms. Bowman, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, and as Mr. Mayor advised, we are here to discuss a land use bylaw map amendment application or rezoning application for 7015 Highway 1 in Coldbrook. So just to give a bit of background, we received a completed application on the 20th of November 2024, and a public information meeting was scheduled to be held on the 12th of February 2025. No members of the public attended the meeting, so the presentation from the meeting was included on the municipal website from that date forwards. Following the date of the public information meeting, staff review was conducted, and then a recommendation was forwarded to the Planning Advisory Committee on March 11th. Following that meeting, the Planning Advisory Committee forwarded a positive recommendation through to the first reading on April 1st. And we are currently here at the public hearing. Following this evening's public hearing, the full Municipal Council will vote on the application and make a decision. Following that, there is a 14-day appeal period for that decision. So, the proposal is to amend the map of the land use bylaw to rezone a portion, so 1.94 acres, of the subject site from the heavy industrial M2 zone to the light industrial commercial M1 zone to permit the development of a retail store. So this is a map of the municipality of the County of Kings with the red circle indicating the approximate location of the subject site within the community of Coldbrook. So the entirety of the subject site is outlined in red, whereas the portion of the site that is proposed to be rezoned is outlined in yellow. So the whole of 7015 Highway 1 is 18.57 acres in area, whereas the area outlined in yellow is 1.94 acres in area and located centrally on the site. So this is the Scotian Gold site. I will note that this is only a portion of their overall operations in this area, but this application only relates to this subject parcel. The site has approximately 1,700 feet of street frontage to Highway 1, and the applicant has advised that the building, which is the post office and warehouse in the area to be rezoned, will be demolished to make way for a retail store. So this is the zoning map for the subject site and surrounds. As we can see, there is a portion of the subject site which is already zoned, the light industrial commercial M1 zone. The portion of the site that is proposed to be rezoned directly abuts that, and the remainder of the site in grey is the heavy industrial M2 zone. We also have the general commercial zone in red, the mixed commercial residential zone in, I guess, a light green, the residential mixed density R3 zone. We have the commercial recreation P1 zone in darker green, and then we also have the residential 1 and 2 unit zone up the top here in kind of the salmon colour. So this is the future land use designation map, identifying what the overall intent of the land is. So the subject site and land to the north is in the industrial designation, which is in the orange colour. We also have the residential designation in the yellow, and then we have the commercial designation in red. So the future land use designation identifies what the land can be used for, and if changes are proposed to be made, what those changes can be. So the Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.3.3 states that all industrial zones are permitted within the industrial designation, meaning the Municipal Planning Strategy does not prohibit the rezoning as long as all other policy components are met. So this is a hypothetical resolution map showing what the zoning of the area would look like if the application is approved in its current form. So we have an overall area of light industrial commercial, which totals 6.3 acres. So this is a photo of the subject site. Highway 1 is behind me taking the photo. And then we have the post office and the warehouse, which is theoretically going to be demolished to make way for a retail store if this application is approved. This is at the rear of the warehouse, which would be demolished, with Highway 1 up here in the distance on the left-hand side. And then this is looking up to Highway 1 and the commercial businesses on the opposite side of Highway 1. So, in regards to public consultation, 24 property owners within 500 feet of the subject site were notified prior to the public information meeting date by mail. As I said, the public information meeting was scheduled for February 12th, but no members of the public were in attendance, and the presentation was made available online after that date. A notice of the public information meeting was also posted on the municipality's social media page on February 5th and on the application page of the website. So, in respect to the enabling policy for this application, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.3 states that Council shall consider amendments to any one of the zoning maps of the land use bylaw provided the application is for a specific development. So in this case, we've been advised that it's for a retail store, and is to point A, is to rezone land to another zone enabled within the same designation. So as stated before, the site is in the industrial designation, and the industrial designation permits all industrial zones. So moving further on, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5 states that Council shall consider in relation to all applications to rezone land. Point A, the applicable zone placement policies. Point B, the impact of both the specific development proposal and of other possible uses permitted within the proposed zone. And point C, the general criteria for amending the land use bylaw set out in section 5.3, development agreements and amending the land use bylaw. So in respect to point A just mentioned, the zone placement policy for the light industrial commercial zone is set out in Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.3.1, and it states that lands within this zone are intended to recognise and provide for the development of industrial uses with light impact. The light industrial commercial M1 zone will also permit development of non-retail commercial uses serving the industrial sector, as well as commercial uses requiring large areas of land for outdoor storage, outdoor commercial display or warehousing. So, the proposed rezoning has been requested in order to aid the modification and expansion of an existing industrial operation which largely comprises of agricultural processing. The site is centrally located within the community of Coldbrook with access directly onto Highway 1, which is one of the county's main transportation corridors. The property directly opposite the site to the south and are directly butting to the north are used for industrial or commercial purposes, with properties further afield used for residential purposes. The proposed rezoning to the light industrial commercial M1 zone would support the continued use of the site for an agricultural related industry, which supports local agricultural uses while also permitting less intensive uses on the land. and which are expected to have less of an impact on surrounding industrial, commercial, and the wider residential community. So, in regards to point B, which looked at what the proposed use is versus what other permitted uses would be in regards to the proposed zone. So the yellow options are what we lose in regards to what would be permitted as of right, and the orange options are what we gain. So the current M2 zone permits the following uses which would be removed. So animal byproduct plants, fish and seafood processing, fish farms, forest industry uses, holding yards, salvage and scrap operations, sanitary services, and waste transfer stations. So we would lose those ability or those uses as of right, but we would gain the ability to use the land for automotive sales and rentals, business offices, drive-in movie theatres, dry cleaning facilities, education facilities, funeral homes, goods and services shops, outdoor commercial displays, parking lots, retail stores, veterinary clinics, wildlife rescue, and rehabilitation centres. So the uses outlined in orange, while they are, I guess, greater in number, they are generally considered to be less intensive uses. And then in regards to point C, which relates to the general criteria as set out in Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.7, and I guess further in-depth discussion has been looked at this in the report that was attached to the agenda. The proposal is generally considered to be intent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy and does not conflict with any municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations, and there is not expected to be any financial cost to the municipality. In terms of land use conflicts, as discussed on the previous slide, many of the new uses that would be permitted as of right through this rezoning are considered to be less intensive and therefore are less likely to cause land use conflicts. So staff are of the opinion that the proposed retail use and potential uses permitted in the light industrial commercial zone will not cause land use compatibility issues. The proposal was referred to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, who is the body with jurisdiction over Highway 1 in regards to the proposed use, and they were also consulted as to whether they could see the potential for any traffic hazards or congestion. The Department of Public Works did not raise any concern in regards to this proposal. Similarly, the application was referred to the Kentville Fire Chief for comment, as they are the fire authority for Coldbrook. And the Kentville Fire Chief advised that there was adequate fire protection services and equipment available for this application. The application was referred to our internal, or the municipality's Department of Engineering and Public Works regarding sewer servicing, and they advised that there is adequate capacity to service this proposal. The Nova Scotia Department of Environment is the authority having jurisdiction over well water. The application was referred to them, but we did not receive any comments back. In regards to the potential for flooding or serious drainage concerns, the application again was referred to the municipality's Department of Engineering and Public Works, who advised that given the existing conditions of large areas of hardscaped car parking and the existing built form, they did not expect that there would be any great change as a result of the new built form and retained car parking spaces. In regards to negative impact on well fields, the subject area of the site is not within the Kentville wellfield overlay, so they're not expected to be any impacts on the Kentville wellfield overlay. Given that this is a site that supports agricultural uses, there are not expected to be any impacts on neighbouring farming operations, and the site is considered suitable. So once again, we received the completed application on November 20th, and we were aiming to host a public meeting on the 12th of February, but no members of the public were in attendance. The application was presented to the Planning Advisory Committee on March 11th, who forwarded a positive recommendation through to full council at first reading on April 1st, and we are currently here at the public hearing. Following this evening's meeting, there will be second reading where full municipal council will vote and make a decision on the application, and following that there is a 14-day appeal period. And I will hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor, for comments from the public.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Just to explain to the public once again, council sits in a quasi-judicial capacity for public hearings, and so it doesn't engage in debate and doesn't argue with the presenter. It is necessary, however, that everyone has a good sense of what's being presented, so we will go to questions of clarification. So is there any misunderstandings of any part by any councillor? Does any councillor have any questions of clarification to the presenter? Councillor Gates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Can you clarify the speed limit in that area? Or do you know what it's set at now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, I believe it's 70.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, then are there any members of the public who would wish to address council on this matter? We would ask that you come to the mic and state your name and address for the record, and as a reminder, there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Please address your comments to council and not to the presenter. Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to the second item on our agenda, which is an application to enable multi-unit development. This application is to rezone a property on Ernst Drive in Aylesford. It will also be presented by Ms. Bowman. Ms. Bowman, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so we are on to the second application, which is a land use bylaw map amendment application or rezoning application for a property on Ernst Drive in Aylesford. So we received a completed application on the 21st of August 2024, and a public information meeting was held on October 7th 2024 at the Millville Community Hall. Following that meeting, staff undertook a review and the application was presented by one of my colleagues, Alice, unfortunately I was unwell, to the Aylesford Village Commission on January 20th, 2025. Following that meeting, the application was then presented to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on March 11th, 2025. A positive recommendation was forwarded to the full Municipal Council at first reading on April 1st. And we are now here at the public hearing. Following this evening's meeting, the full Municipal Council will vote on the application at second reading, and following that vote, there is a 14-day appeal period. So, on to the proposal. As stated before, we're looking at a land use bylaw map amendment to rezone the subject property from the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone to the residential mixed density R3 zone to permit the development of 3 semi-detached dwellings and 24 townhouse units. So the land use bylaw breaks down built form options for residential units into different land uses, which is why we are distinguishing between townhouses versus semi-detached dwellings. But the total number of residential units proposed is 30 on the site across both built forms. So the residential mixed density zone does not permit a greater density of units on the land. It just provides different built form options than what is permitted under the current zone. So I will note that the plan shown on the screen has been provided as a hypothesis of what is proposed, but a planning application does not provide consent for development. Further permitting is required before any form of development can occur on the site. So I'm ultimately assessing rezoning, but as part of that I do need to consider land use conflicts, which is why a built form proposal, at least in plan, has been provided. So this is a map of the County of Kings with the red circle indicating the approximate location of the subject site within the village of Aylesford. This is a aerial image of the subject site. As we can see, we have two areas of street frontage. The first being the central portion, which is approximately 65 feet, and this second frontage, which is approximately 30 feet. The entirety of the site is approximately 4.47 acres in area and is located on the southern side of Ernst Drive. I will note that this aerial image is slightly out of date, with Percy Court having been built in with semi-detached units, or semi-detached dwellings, sorry, which can be seen on this slide here. So there are 12 semi-detached dwellings with 24 residential units in this area here. So this is a zoning map of the subject site. The subject site and the land to the east, west, and north is located in the residential 1 and 2 unit zone, and the land to the south is located in the rural mixed use A2 zone. The residential 1 and 2 unit zone permits 1 unit dwellings, 2 unit dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and group dwellings as of right. So this is the future land use designation map. As we saw in the previous proposal, the designations identify what the general intended use of the land is, and if changes are proposed, what those changes can be. So Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.1.3 states that all residential zones are permitted within the residential designation. And the subject site and land to the east, west, and north are all located in the residential designation. The land to the south is located in the agricultural designation. So once again, this is a hypothetical image showing what the zoning of the area would look like if this application is approved in its current form. So this is an image looking at the frontage of the site, which is the 65-foot frontage. There's kind of a mowed patch in the middle, which is generally indicative of where the potential future road would access the site. Again, this mowed section is kind of looking generally straight down the center of the subject site. So this is an image looking at the rear of the dwellings facing Percy Court, to highlight effectively that there is a difference in height of land, with the properties facing Percy Court sitting above the land, which is the subject site. So these are the semi-detached dwellings which front Percy Court, with the subject site to the rear. And then this is standing on that mowed section looking back out at Ernst Drive. So, in respect to public consultation, 56 property owners within 500 feet of the subject property were notified by letter mail prior to the public information meeting. The public information meeting was held on October 7th at the Millville Community Hall, and the associated presentation has been made available online since that time. And a notice of the public information meeting was also placed on the municipal website. 28 members of the community were in attendance at that meeting, along with the applicants. And we have a range of concerns raised. Again, I will note that there is a lot more detail than what I will verbally say in the report that was included in the agenda package. So I guess I will start off by saying that the general feeling of the community was that they did not like the proposal, where there were also a range of issues, which I'll jump into now, which jumped out of all of the concerns raised. So one of the main ones was in regards to drainage. A number of the residents expressed that they have existing drainage problems, whether that's ponding on their land due to its slope, or during significant rainfall they have flooding of certain areas of their sites. And there was the general concern that future development on this land would cause that to worsen, or new drainage problems to be an issue. So the application was referred to the Municipal Department of Engineering and Public Works for comment. The engineering team did advise that they did do a site visit prior to providing their comments back. So they advised that they would add the site and surrounding areas of Maple Avenue, Ernst Drive, and Percy Court to their spring maintenance checks to confirm that all of the drainage was up to standard and is working in the best and most efficient order that it can be. And they also advised that during the subdivision of this land through the creation of a new road, a drainage plan would be required to ensure that post-development flows do not exceed pre-development flows, so that, I guess, existing conditions are not made any worse through this proposal if it is to go ahead in its current form. The second major concern raised was in regards to well water and the possibility that a whole lot of new dwellings will have a negative impact on their availability to access well water. So the application was referred to the Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change, who is the body with jurisdiction over well water. They did not come back with any comments in regards to this application, but as I will go into a bit more detail later in the proposal, the density of what is permitted on the site versus what is currently being proposed through the zone change will not change, in that tomorrow a developer could come in and say, I want to build 30 units, whether it's semi-detached units or 2-unit dwellings, and they would be able to do that if they got all of their permitted building and development permits. So regardless of this application, there is still the potential to have that many units on the land, so there could potentially be the same amount of strain on well water as what is being proposed. I guess leading into the third point, one of the main concerns was density of dwellings and the proposed townhouse form. So I guess as I just went through, there is no change in the permitted density between the existing zone and the proposed zone. The only difference is an allowance for a different built form, whether that's townhouses, multi-unit dwellings, or the like. In regards to a range of other concerns that were raised, the application was referred to the Aylesford Fire Chief in regards to one concern that was raised, which was that there is only one exit point to the subdivision, which is the Ernst Drive intersection with Maple Avenue. So that was directly raised, and the Fire Chief did not have any concern with this. In regards to noise and privacy, again, as I stated, tomorrow a developer could come in and apply to build the same number of units on the land, so we're not expecting a significant increase in noise than what is already permitted, and given that it is residential noise in a residential area, that is to be expected. In terms of privacy, there was concern that with the removal of all the vegetation on the site, they would have a lot less privacy than they currently do between existing properties and the current property. So I will note that the applicant advised when we did our site visit that they're not intending to remove all of the vegetation, but there are no vegetation protection provisions in place, so we have no control over the removal of said vegetation. A number of concerns were raised in regards to road safety and traffic generation, lack of sidewalks, no street lighting, and a few other points which I'll get to as well. So we have two separate bodies with jurisdiction. The Nova Scotia Department of Public Works is the body with jurisdiction over Maple Avenue, whereas the municipality is the body with jurisdiction over Ernst Drive and Percy Court. So the application was referred to both of them, raising concerns that were raised in the public information meeting. Neither body requested a traffic study, and neither raised concern with the traffic that would be generated from said proposal or any other residential development on this site. The sidewalks component of this, sorry, let me start that again. The municipal planning strategy has a map within it, and there are policies in place as well which look at priority of construction of sidewalks. Neither Maple Avenue, Ernst Drive, or Percy Court are currently on that priority list. That is not to say that the village of Aylesford, who would be the body implementing or putting in the sidewalks, can step away from that and construct the sidewalks if they wish to, but that is not something that we can, I guess, directly consider through this application. Similarly, with the street lighting, that is dealt with through a separate bylaw outside of the planning permit application process, so it's not something that I can consider through this process. In regards to snow removal, we did raise that with our Department of Engineering and Public Works, and they advised that through the subdivision process that would be considered as part of the design standards. And again, in regards to the school bus route, not something I can directly consider, as that is dealt with by the Education Board. In regards to Maple Avenue, there were a number of concerns raised in regards to its width. At the moment, it's approximately 1.5 lanes wide and not in great condition, so I did raise those concerns with the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, as the residents expressed that they were concerned that additional traffic on that road would have a negative impact. Again, the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works did not come back with any concerns and stated that the road could accommodate the additional traffic. Another major point of concern raised was in regards to negative impacts on taxes and property values. So again, unfortunately, that is outside the realm of what I can consider through this application. So this slide is not something that is directly something that I can consider through this planning application, but it, I guess, will help to visualize the density component of what I've been discussing. So the current R2 zone states that the minimum lot size per residential unit is 2,000 square feet, and the minimum lot frontage is 20 feet. So that is generally your two components that look at how many residential units you can have on a lot. It's based on how much street frontage you have versus how much land area you have. So when we're looking at the proposed residential mixed density R3 zone, when we're talking about anything, whether it's 2 units or more, that minimum land area you need is still 2,000 square feet, and your minimum lot frontage per unit is generally still 20 feet. So we're not looking at any change in density between the two zones, and tomorrow the landowner could come in and apply to construct 30 residential units as within the scope of what is permitted as of right on the current zone, or current site, sorry. Okay, so moving into policy, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.3 states that Council shall consider amendments to any one of the zoning maps of the land use bylaw, provided the application is for a specific development. As we've been advised, it's for 6 semi-detached residential units, 3 semi-detached dwellings with 6 residential units and 24 townhouses. And point A is to rezone land to another zone enabled within the same designation. So as discussed before, all residential zones are permitted within the residential designation. Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5 states that Council shall consider in relation to all applications to rezone land. Point A, the applicable zone placement policies, including any specific policy criteria for applying the proposed zone set out within the strategy. Point B, the impact of both the specific development proposal and of other possible uses permitted in the proposed zone. And point C, the general criteria for amending the land use bylaw set out in section 5.3, development agreements and amending the land use bylaw. Okay, so in regards to the zone placement policy, which referenced point A of that previous slide, that is set out in Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.1.2. And for the residential mixed density zone, it is lands located in this zone are intended to provide a transition between areas of low and high density, or on properties that would benefit from flexible development options, including diversity of building forms. The zone is intended to include residential units in a variety of building types at a density consistent with the residential 1 unit and residential 1 and 2 unit zones. So, as outlined in blue, the subject site is located in an existing subdivision on the periphery of the Aylesford Growth Centre. The site possesses an opportunity for infill development within an established residential community where existing sewer services can be utilised and where the density and height of residential units permitted under the current zone is the same as the proposed residential mixed density R3 zone. The site would benefit from flexible development options and building forms permitted through the residential mixed density R3 zone while maintaining the minimum density permitted in the current zone. The proposed development of townhouses and semi-detached dwellings will provide a variety of housing options at a density consistent with the residential 1 and 2 unit zone and the residential 1 unit zone. So, in respect to point B of the Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5, which looks at both the specific development proposal and other possible uses permitted within the proposed zone, there is no change in the uses permitted if they're non-residential uses. So no additional commercial uses would be proposed or other uses. The only change is in relation to the residential uses, and that purely relates to built form of residential dwellings. So the R2 zone, or current residential 1 and 2 unit zone, permits group dwellings, 1 unit dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and 2 unit dwellings. The residential mixed density zone permits group dwellings, multi-unit dwellings, 1 unit dwellings, residential facilities, semi-detached dwellings, townhouses, and 2 unit dwellings. So again, no change in density permitted, only the built form is changing. Okay, and then in regards to point C, we're looking at consideration of the application against the general criteria set out in policy 5.3.7. So the application is considered to generally meet the intent of the municipal planning strategy and does not conflict with any municipal, provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations, and there is not expected to be any financial impact to the municipality. In regards to land use compatibility, the proposed use is residential, the surrounding land uses are residential. So while there will be a potential increase in density from what is existing on neighbouring properties, the land uses are proposed to be the same. So there's not expected to be any land use compatibility issues. In terms of the adequacy and supply and proximity of schools, recreation and community facilities, the subject site is less than 2 kilometres from St Mary's Elementary School. In terms of recreation, the fire hall baseball fields and the Kingston Rail Trail are within proximity to the subject site, and the West Kings District High School is approximately 5-minute drive from the subject site. In regards to the creation of traffic hazards or congestion, the application was referred to both the municipality's Engineering and Public Works Department and the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, neither of which raised any concern in regards to the proposed increase in traffic or any hazards. Similarly, the application was referred to the Aylesford Fire Chief, who did not raise any concerns in regards to the proposal and advised there was adequate fire protection services available. The application was referred to the municipality's Department of Engineering and Public Works regarding sewer connection, and we were advised that there is adequate sewer capacity for this proposal. The Nova Scotia Department of Environment did not comment on well water services in the area. But again, we're not looking at increasing increasing the density beyond what is already proposed and what the potential impact on well water would be. In regards to the potential for flooding or sewage drainage problems, the municipality's Engineering and Public Works Department advised that they would be requiring a drainage plan prior to any development permits being issued to ensure that post-development flows do not exceed pre-development flows. And similarly, there's not expected to be any impact on neighbouring farming operations, and the site is considered suitable. So, just to recap, we received a completed application in August of 2024, and a public information meeting was held on October 7th of 2024. The application was presented to the Aylesford Village Commission in January of 2025, and the application was presented to the Planning Advisory Committee in March of 2025. First reading occurred in April, and we are now here at the public hearing. Following tonight's public hearing, there will be second reading where the full Municipal Council will vote on a decision, and following that decision, there is a 14-day appeal period. And I will now pass it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you again, Ms. Bowman. So is there any questions of clarification from any member of the council to the presenter? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you again, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Bowman. Had the developer requested a much higher density, would he have to go to an R4 and R5 designation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, theoretically, yes, if he wanted to go for a greater density, he would need to go to the R4. But again, we would need to go through the same process to confirm if the zone placement policy allowed for that zoning in this particular location.
Okay, any other member of council? No? All right, we'll move on then to comments from the public, and I would invite any member of the public to come forward to the podium. Again, we would ask you to state your name, your address, and you would have a maximum of 5 minutes to address council.
On Percy Court. The road, if you're going to put 45 more cars on that road, it's not going to, it might handle the amount of traffic, but the road's in very poor shape. They've got to do something to fix it up. I mean, they're going to collect a lot bigger tax base, but the builder should talk to them about fixing the road, because it's ridiculous. And they say, oh, it shouldn't be a problem, but it's a problem now. You can't drive down without beating your car to pieces because you have to drive over in the side. And the water, they say the water should be fine. But what happens when our wells start to go dry? What do they do then? Oh, it should have been fine. You know, that it's should be, and doing the proper test and stuff is one other. But the road is my biggest concern, because you drive in and out of there, it's terrible. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Snare. I think a lot of us share the concerns of the condition of the roads, but that's certainly a valid point. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi there, good evening everybody. My name is Ashley Reary. I live at 1076 Ernst Drive, so it's the corner property. I also would like to reiterate the concern about the condition of Maple Avenue. And I mean, I understand that that might not necessarily be able to be addressed through this rezoning process, but also wondering for the community, like, what are the avenues to bring that issue to the attention of, you know, the proper municipal bodies, because it is quite frankly dangerous at this point, particularly because there are a number of children that live on the street, there are no sidewalks, and during the presentation it was said that the road is approximately 1.5 lanes wide, and it's quite frankly just not, it's a safety issue. The other issue that I did want to bring to the attention is the issue of the drainage. I understand that this is something that needs to be addressed during the development process and kind of the request for permits during the development. My properties is one of the properties that has been impacted by the development of the semi-detached dwellings that were put in on Percy Court, and I now have issues for drainage on my own property because of the duplexes that were put in. And so I assume that the drainage issue is something that should have been addressed during the application for permits for those properties as well, but I'm currently having issues because of it. So those are some of the questions that I have, and just wondering, like, understanding that this rezoning process may not be the time to address those concerns, but wondering where there are other avenues for input and participation by members of the community that do have legitimate concerns. Yeah, understanding that there's not an increase in density, but the fact that there are going to be a number of, you know, more cars, people in the area, and a drain on the resources that, like, there already isn't much infrastructure in the subdivision. So those are some of the concerns that I think a lot of folks have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, well, I want to thank the members of public that came this evening, and I'm going to declare this public meeting adjourned, but I would like to note to the public that these items are on the agenda for the council meeting directly following the public hearing for a second reading, and you're certainly welcome to stay. Thank you. And so this meeting is now adjourned. And we will now move on to our Tuesday, May the 6th council meeting. And as I stated before, all council members are present. And we have an agenda in front of you. And please note that there's two time-sensitive items that need to be added to the agenda tonight. One is a loan guarantee from the Village of Canning, and the other is a guarantee resolution for Valley Waste. We were just notified today, and both need to be signed before May 15th, and they can be added under administration. So with those two additions, I would be pleased to have a motion to approve the amended agenda. Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor McPherson. Okay. And did you wish to speak on the motion, Councillor Sappington?
Forgive me, Mr. Mayor. Before you asked for the motion, I was hoping to add something to the agenda. I'd requested an update on the New Minas sewer system.
I believe that, Councillor Sappington, that is in the presentation already.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the motion? All those in favor, for or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. So now it's disclosure of conflict of interest. Does any councillor wish to declare a conflict of interest on any of the agendas this evening? Councillor Lutz.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor Corcoran. Yes, I would like to declare a conflict of interest with item 6A, application to rezone a portion of property at 7015 Highway 1 Coldbrook, as my immediate family are members of the Scotian Gold Cooperative. And I would ask perhaps that at that time, could you read that motion? I usually read the planning motions, but if I won't be in my seat, someone else will have to fill in for that one until I return for item B.
Okay, we'll take care of that. Thank you. All right. So, we have that noted, Madam Clerk. Thank you. So we have minutes of April the 1st, 2025. We have minutes of April the 2nd, 2025. And we have minutes of April the 15th, 2025. And I've been advised by the clerk that we can make one motion to approve all three sets. So would somebody like to move moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Best. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Now, is there any business arising from the minutes of April the 1st, 2025? Okay. No? All right, we'll move on to April the 2nd, 2025 special budget meeting. Was there any business arising from those minutes? Okay, April 15th, special council meeting, 2025. Was there any business arising from those minutes? Okay, then we'll move on to the planning advisory recommendations and the application for Coldbrook. You got it here? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so the municipal council gives second reading to the application to rezone 1.94 acres of 7015 Highway 1, PID 55153811 Coldbrook from heavy industrial M2 zone to light industrial commercial M1 zone as described in Appendix C of the report dated March the 11th, 2025. So, do we have a mover? Moved by Deputy Mayor Peckford, second by Councillor Best. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, then all those in favor or against, please vote. Thank you. Okay, motion carried with the everyone voting to the positive, with Councillor Emily Lutz declaring a conflict of interest. Councillor Lutz is now back in her seat, and I'm going to let her take care of item 6B, the application to rezone a property on Ernst Drive, Aylesford, file 24-12. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you so much, Mayor Corcoran. The motion reads that Municipal Council gives second reading to the application to rezone a parcel of vacant land on Ernst Drive, PID 55552640, Aylesford, from the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone to the residential mixed density R3 zone as described in Appendix C of the report dated March 11th, 2025. I so move.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Second by Deputy Mayor Peckford. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question, and I'm wondering if staff are aware if the developer, is this the same developer that has already done the development on Percy Drive in that area? Do we know if it's the same one, or is it a new developer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I believe, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lutz, I believe they took over the completion of the development. I don't believe they initiated the development on Percy Court.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to acknowledge the resident who came this evening to express their concerns, and I appreciate the concerns. Quite often when there is a development happening or proposed to happen within a community, infrastructure is a big concern. I will be voting in favor of the proposal because really changing from an R2 to an R3 is going to result in the same density. However, I do want to acknowledge the concern about road conditions and drainage in particular. And those are always big concerns for anyone living next to a proposed development. So just wanted to say that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harding.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. In the same way, drainage problems, when you pack a lot of places in, like on Ernst Drive with one road in, one road out, all those people in there. We see it, what happens in fires, same as down in Halifax, Timberley last year. lucky nobody got killed because there's not a fire road or something in there to give people another way out. So I want to be voting in favor of this one. Thank you.
Fun with this thing tonight. Okay. All right. I see no other lights on, so all those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, Councillor Lutz, item 6C.
Thanks, Mayor Corkum. The motion reads that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to amend the land use bylaw text and map to permit the expansion of an existing daycare facility at 1733 Highway 1, PID 55079073, Auburn, as described in Appendix D and E of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Okay, we have a seconder. Second by Councillor Best. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Item 6D, Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. The motion reads that Municipal Council give initial consideration to and hold a public hearing regarding entering into a development agreement to legalize the 3 tourist cabins on the property located at 1143 West Halls Harbour Road, PID 55041065, Halls Harbour, which is substantively the same, save for minor differences in form, as the draft set out in Appendix D of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Second by Councillor Hiltz. Any further discussion on the matter? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Item 6E, Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. The motion reads that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone 683 Central Avenue, PID 55314876, Greenwood, from the general commercial C1 zone to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone, as described in Appendix D of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Okay, second by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Item 6F, Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. The motion reads that Municipal Council give initial consideration to and hold a public hearing regarding entering into a development agreement to permit a tourist commercial use within an existing building at 1081 Cape Split Road, PID 55014047, Scots Bay, which is substantively the same, save for minor differences in form, as the draft set out in Appendix C of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Okay, and second by Councillor McPherson. Any further discussion on this motion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Okay. So, and do you have a date for your next public meeting?
We certainly do. Next month, our public hearing will be Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, at 6 p.m. here in these chambers prior to our regular council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So the previous motion was carried, and thank you, Councillor Lutz. So now we'll move on to administration, and in proclamation of Lyme Disease Awareness Month, VON, Municipal Clerk is going to present the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council. We have 3 proclamation requests on the agenda tonight. The first one is for Lyme disease. We received this request from the Nova Scotia Lyme and Tick-Borne Diseases Association, and it's also on behalf of the Nova Scotia Lyme Support Group and the Nova Scotia Lyme Advocacy Group. And this is the 8th time that we have had this proclamation. And the recommended motion is that Municipal Council proclaim May 2025 to be Lyme Disease Awareness Month in the municipality of the County of Kings.
Okay. Do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Sappington. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by voting yea or nay. Okay, and Councillor Gates has stepped out, I guess. Motion carried. And the next motion is policy FIN-05002. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, we have to do the other 2 proclamations first before we can move to those policies. So the second proclamation is for the VON. We received this.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. We received this request from the VON Annapolis Valley, and this is the 4th time that we've received this proclamation request. And the recommended motion is that Municipal Council proclaim May 18th to the 24th, 2025 to be VON Week in the municipality of the County of Kings.
Okay, moved by Councillor Luke, second by Councillor Sappington. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried, and the last one, Madam Clerk, Wittenberg Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received this request from Rewind 89.3. They organize the annual radiothon, and this would be the 8th time that we've had this proclamation. So the recommended motion is that Municipal Council proclaim June the 12th, 2025 to be Wittenberg Day in the municipality of the County of Kings.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Lutz. Councillor Lutz would like to speak on this.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just say that for the last several years, I've been a volunteer with Rewind on Wittenberg Day, and they collect donations and contribute them to the IWK. And it's quite an event each year in New Minas at the radio station, and I encourage all councillors and anyone listening or attending this meeting tonight to get involved and to donate and to really the movement in memory of coal is a really beautiful day, and it's moving and wonderful to be part of. So I encourage anyone who's available on June the 12th, if that's the day they host the radiothon, to be involved in some capacity because it's a great cause.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Okay. All right, all those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. So, now we got policy FIN-05-002, council and committee remuneration. Who is there? No presentation, just a motion to adopt the amended council and remuneration policy. Council previously gave 7 days' notice to amend the policy on April 15th. Okay, moved by Councillor Lutz, second by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? All those in favor or against, please vote. When are you doing the presentation on the wastewater? Okay. Motion carried, and now we'll go to 7C, policy DBS-03-006, stormwater management adoption. A motion to adopt the new stormwater management policy. Council gave 7 days notice to adopt this policy on April 15th. We have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McPherson, second by Councillor Sappington. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Item 7D, a request for the helicopter flyover and landing at Camp Aldershot on Family Day. Municipal Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week on April 30th, the Mayor received a request from the commanding officer at Camp Aldershot, and this is for support for a Canadian Armed Forces aircraft to do a flyby at the Family Day event Aldershot is organizing on June the 14th. And they're also requesting permission for a helicopter to land at Aldershot on that day to be displayed to the public. As the municipality does not have a policy related to this, we are bringing this request to you for approval. And the recommended motion is that Municipal Council authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to send letters to Canadian Air Division headquarters to express support of a flyby by Canadian Armed Forces aircraft as low as 500 feet, and to grant permission for the Canadian Armed Forces to land a helicopter at the Family Day event at 5 CDSG Detachment Aldershot on June 14th, 2025.
Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Hiltz. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please, or against, please vote. Motion carried. Okay, the next one is the loan guarantee to Village of Canning, and the CAO will be presenting, and where we've got him up on his feet, we'll also get him to give us a lowdown on the recent concerns at the Numina sewer system that I promised you.
Where are those Word documents? Word documents are in the presentation.
Oh, yeah, you want to show the RD ones?
Yes.
Okay, I'll
yeah.
have to do that for my.
Okay. this without a motion? This will be interesting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first agenda item, I guess to start off with, as the mayor introduced the topic at the start of the meeting, these were two late requests for us this morning, is why you're receiving them this late. They came in about 10 or 11 o'clock this morning. So the first one deals with a request from the village of Canning, and both of these requests are somewhat similar in that the prior council dealt with one. I don't know if it was the prior council or this council dealt with the other. So typically what happens is a village and an IMSA corporation require the guarantee of loans from the municipal owners, or in the case of the village, just guarantee the debt of a village. And so it starts off with what is commonly known as a bridge loan, and that comes in the form of a temporary borrowing resolution. So let's say you are going to buy a series of equipment, like in Canning, they're talking about a fire truck. So you get a bridge loan from usually a commercial lender, and you use that to make your installments on buying the equipment. And at the end of that, when you receive title of the asset, you typically go to the province for long-term borrowing to replace that and then pay it back over time. So from bridge financing to a long-term debenture issue. So in Canning, as you can see here, in 2023, they came, I'm under discussion here, they came and requested the municipality approved a guarantee resolution on that temporary borrowing resolution, as I just described, for 1.1 million. If you scroll down a bit, Madam Clerk, you can see here that since that time of the temporary borrowing resolution, they've paid off 600,000 of that temporary borrowing resolution. And so that leaves $550,000 that they intend to float a debenture to retire that over a 4-year term. Similar language here for both this item and the Valley Waste is debentures don't, our guarantee doesn't have a financial impact on the municipality. That is, of course, unless the Village of Canning was to default on the loan. The loan guarantees are not included in the evaluation of our financial condition index. So you can remember the traffic score that we look at with red, yellow, and green. So it has no impact on the calculation of those. And it also doesn't affect the municipality's ability to borrow for our own projects. So I think what we would do here is, with your approval, we would then execute, the municipal clerk and the mayor would execute the requested copies of the guarantee. I note here the village is a little bit different than the IMSA Corporation and Valley Waste in that they have to follow Section 90 of the Municipal Government Act, which says they have to have a ratepayer meeting, which they did do, so they're in compliance of that. So perhaps if we go back up to the recommendation. On this particular one, we're asking here that Municipal Council approve the guarantee of the Village of Canning's debenture issue 45A1 in the amount of $550,000 in relation to the purchase of a new fire truck for the Canning and District Volunteer Fire Department as attached to Appendix A of the May 6th request for decision. Happy to take any questions you may have on this one.
We have a moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor McPherson. So now it's open for discussions. Any questions or comments to the CAO? Councillor McPherson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I did hear you say open for discussion, so I don't have a question per se. Is that what you're looking for?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to say that in my involvement with the village in Canning, it's the third time over the years that they purchased a new fire truck. It's a very professionally run fire service in Canning, and I do want to state that the truck itself, which is tremendous, was built in Port Williams, which I think is important. Canning has
got one vote.
Yeah. Canning, the truck was 1.1 million, and already within a year and a half, they reduced the requirement to 550,000. So it's a pretty common thing, I believe, in financing this way, and certainly speak 100% in support. Thank you.
Okay, so I see why he moved it for you. Okay, anyone else? All those in favor signify by saying aye, or no. All those for or against, please vote. Going back in time here once in a while. That's okay. Thanks, Tim. Oh, after 3 more years, I'll have it right, Bobby?
You're doing fine.
Thanks, Christine.
something seems to be wrong with the voting system here, so I'll just try to do that motion again.
Motion carried. Okay, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just give us a sec here for the Valley Region Solid Waste.
Okay, so you're going to do that.
If we scroll down to the second paragraph in discussion, Madam Clerk, thanks. So this one here, that's perfect right there. This particular guarantee relates to the capital acquisitions. And so the temporary borrowing resolution actually on May 6th in 2024 was pegged at $1.7 million, and it's been, their actual spend is below that. It's $1.2 million. And you can see that our guarantee in the table there of that $1.2 million is $890,466. So if we scroll a bit. So that is actually financing a baler, a loader, a grinder, and an excavator, and you can see the different terms. So there's a variety of debentures that would be issued for that. It's, I believe, very similar, if not identical language under financial implications. So us guaranteeing the debenture of the Valley Waste does not impact on, doesn't impact on our financial condition indicators and does not affect the municipality's ability to borrow. The guarantee is basically okay unless the Valley Region Waste Management Authority were to default on the loan, and then of course our guarantee would come into play. So very similar to Canning. If we go back to the top. So I can read, if you'd like, that Municipal Council approve the Municipality of County King's proportional share of the guarantee associated with the Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management Authorities. Debenture 45A1 is set out and appended to the May 6, 2025 request for decision.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lutz, second by Councillor Harding. Any further discussion or questions? Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. I know through previous discussions we've had about Valley Waste that they are looking to do some significant upgrading in their facilities. So this seems like it's for equipment. You said, it sounded like you were one of the giants from the BFG, grinder, muncher, like crusher, like all the terms. This isn't for the building though. This isn't.
That's correct.
Okay. So do we anticipate a greater ask coming in the future in terms of loan guarantees? I know I obviously recognize, this is more for curiosity, I recognize that it doesn't affect our ability to borrow and all those types of things, but wanting to be aware as a group what level of debt the Valley Waste is taking on so that we're kind of aware of where our responsibilities are.
Correct. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, you'll recall from their budget presentation that there is a bigger ask coming. There's a refresh required both in Kentville and in Lawrencetown at the 2 transfer stations. And although we're switching to, I'm struggling for the initials here, an integrated plan where we're no longer in charge of recycling, so there'll be a cost saving there. But we're actually going to see a bit of an increase in expense to deal with those 2 lifts, and then it'll level out a couple of years after that when they presented their 5-year budget. But
Okay.
yes, there's a bigger ask coming.
Yeah, and just to follow up, if I might, reserves, like they do have reserves. Are we feeling confident that the reserves are balanced out with the debt and that, they have that ability to smooth going forward?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they do have reserves. We're going to see a blip for about 2 years, and our rates are going to go up because there will be a blip because of the amount of debt that's going to be required to finance these capital assets. Okay. But then that'll level back to at prior to or slightly below is my recollection of what was discussed with council previously.
Okay, and just one final follow-up, if I could. Extended producer responsibility, maybe this was, and this might be a very highly specific question to ask you right now, but my recollection is that we are saving money or we're getting some money from the producers through our management of solid waste. Has that been helpful in terms of in another revenue source for Valley Waste, so that where they're not fully 100% reliant on just the municipal partners for funding?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the councillor. Thank you for getting the initials for me, EPR. That's what I was struggling
that's
to
what you-
remember, extended
Okay.
producer responsibility. So yes, there's quite a, there is what I would describe as a material saving to Valley Waste by not being responsible for recycling, and that is helping to cushion these capital refreshes of infrastructure that is probably cresting its useful life in terms of these two transfer stations.
Okay, well, that's
So
excellent
there's a
news.
good offset with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's great. Thanks.
And I might chime in for one quick comment to Councillor Lutz that unfortunately Valley Waste is in a similar situation that King's Transit's in. Some of the facilities were not kept up to snuff, and now it's getting to the point where something has to be done. And that's unfortunate, but it's also reality sometimes. Okay, so we have a motion in front of us. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried, and thank you, Mr. CAO. And now that we're on waste, I guess maybe you're going to give us a presentation that of what's been going on in New Minas. And after that, then there'd be an opportunity if any councillor has any questions to the CAO. And I see he's got Director Kerrigan with him too, so somebody to blame it on. No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, I am the assembler of information, and there's a high probability that I'll defer a couple of these to Director Kerrigan. So this evening, there are 4 points that we wish to cover. An overview of the system, what we have done in recent years, current problems, potential causes, and what we are doing. And this presentation was put together at the request of Councillor Sappington through an agenda item addition request. So in terms of the system overview, I believe everyone knows, but it doesn't hurt to go back at a high level. It's a biological system. There are other systems in the province and of course across the country that are mechanical plants. There's different types of waste processing plants and systems out there. Regional happens to be a biological system. I know several of you were on the tour in Greenwood, for example, and Greenwood is a mechanical system. We have other systems in our array of 8 plants that are, for example, sequence batch reactor plants. So there's different technologies at play. Regional is a biological system. In this biological system, one of the keys, it's not the only one, but one of the keys is dissolved oxygen in the lagoons. So if you can envision, we have a blower building with 5 very large blowers. There's yard works with large piping. I'm going to show you some pictures that conveys oxygen, air through these pipes, and they go out in diffusers and instill in these diffusers. There's a fine array of aerated air that goes through this to help the biological process. Materials, when they're coming into the plant, are screened, so there's very large drums before they enter the first lagoon. The waste, and when it's in the first lagoon, in addition to the aeration that I just mentioned, it migrates through 5 lagoons. All of those lagoons are aerated. The effluent is then treated by ultraviolet light prior to discharge. And regional sewer is a partnership of the municipality, the town of Kentful, the village of New Minas, and PepsiCo. Our system at regional is fairly large, so this graphic shows from Greenwich all the way up here to Coldbrook, and I'm sure this needs to be updated, but when this graphic was presented a couple of years back, it services about 22,000 people plus industry. For example, if it's the regional hospital, it would be an institutional user of the system, pie plants, PepsiCo, potato washing plants. Like, there's a large variety of commercial and industrial use of this in addition to residential. A lot of conveyance lines, lift stations. There's big sections of conveyance line and big sections of force main line. So what have we done in recent years? In terms of capital construction, we have undertaken desludging of centrifuge and geotube. I remember the exact number, or very close to the exact number, a couple of years ago. We spun and dewatered about 22,500 cubic meters of municipal biosolid from one of the cells alone, which is a significant quantity of municipal biosolids. We put newer aeration and diffuser equipment in. So I was telling you about the blower building and the 5 blowers transferring through trunk lines into these diffusers. So there was 380 new diffusers installed in Lagoon 1 and 140 in Lagoon 2. And as I mentioned a couple of times now, that's conveyed through new yard piping. And we changed the inflow line in Lagoon 1 to improve circulation. So as a visual, if you can imagine the first lagoon when you're down, I know again many of you were on the tour, it's a kind of an odd shape in the back of that first lagoon. It used to be more pronounced than what it is today. And because of the location of the previous inflow line, stuff wasn't really circulating in the lagoon, and right in front of the outfall line or inflow line was actually a bit of an island that was created of biosolids. So that had to be addressed. So some of the pictures, so one of the methods that we used is a method that's referred to as geotubes here. So there's 3 here, and I believe I know there was 2 more added, so there's 5 of these geotubes. So basically things are pumped from a barge. A former employee used to describe the method that's used to collect on the bottom of these ponds. It looks like a very large snowblower, and it collects, takes it up, and if it's centrifuge, it goes into a trailer. They spin it, they put a product in it, a polymer in it to help out, and then it gets pumped into these geotubes. They're like large socks, and under their own weight, they'll dewater for a couple of years, and then they're basically in an inert thing. And it's kind of interesting when they do this, there's no smell to this stuff when it comes out, and I've been down on many occasions, or at least several occasions, witnessing this. So this would be one of the barges that I was referring to that's siphoning it off the bottom. Here's a smaller operation in a different part of that year off the bottom. When we're in the refit stage, here are examples of prior diffusers that were in these cells. I think these were actually about 36 inches in you never remember my circumference and diameter. Circumference, right? This one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Around.
Yep. So these, and they were about 5 feet high. So these were, and there was hundreds of them in there. So they're quite large. And you can see the amount. There's 2 that were cleaned, and then we snapped a photo one day showing the amount of, for example, wipes that people are flushing down the system that are clogging up the aerator. So we're relying on air to get into the system. The system can be blocked with these inorganic things like flushable wipes.
So those are wipes.
Yeah. So here's a good example of, this is not the current system, but this is sort of the sea of trees that was in the first lagoon, I believe, prior to the new diffusers. This is a bit of the operation that happened down there as part of that desludging. Director Kerrigan and I included this one this afternoon. This is a good sort of aerial photograph of cell 2, and it kind of shows you the aeration at work, the amount of striation that's going on there and the infusion of oxygen in this lagoon.
So just sorry to interrupt. That last photo, that's of cell 1 on the right-hand side. Yeah.
So I'm looking at it backwards?
This would be looking from above the geotubes back at the blower building.
Okay. So examples of yard piping. This is the inflow line that was relocated. So really unfortunate here this evening having to make this presentation. There's been a fair amount of money spent, and as everyone knows, we're in the middle of an upset. So personally, I think I can speak for Director Kerrigan and I, this is not a good evening. It hasn't been the last couple of weeks have not been. It's been dominating our days. So we've had this upset, and one of the things that we've noted right away is that there appears to be a lack of dissolved oxygen in the first lagoon. The rest of the lagoons, to certain degrees, but all of them, seem to be relatively healthy. So the question is, why is there no dissolved oxygen count in the first lagoon? So to deal with that, we've installed what are referred to as lagoon masters. So I'm going to show you a picture here in a second to improve circulation. We've consulted and continue to consult with subject matter experts, process engineers. They've been on site, we've been on the phone, we've been on Teams calls. We've increased sampling to monitor our dissolved oxygen and BOD parameters, and we're looking at odor mitigation. So this is an example of a lagoon master. I believe my count when I was recently there a few days back, there's 3 in operation. There's 2 in this one, and I believe there's an additional one in cell 2. So that's really pushing stuff around, trying to get the maximum amount of circulation in the cell that's not healthy. We're also, in terms of that dissolved oxygen and the health of that first lagoon, there's these temporary pumps. So there's permanently installed air conveyance system between the ponds to dilute from the healthier ponds. That's something we do all the time, but we've increased that dilution through these pumps. So you can see here some of the yard piping taking from these pumps closer to the ultraviolet or the finishing ponds back to cell 1. So there's a long lengths of these aluminum yard pipes to convey that back. So there's potential causes for the current problem, and we're in the midst of trying to figure out what the problems might be. For example, I know that Councillor Sappinen happened to be in our office this afternoon when one of the process engineers phoned, and there was quite a discussion on the impact of ammonia at this time of year and what we can be doing to check those levels. So to date, we're thinking that obviously there's the lack of dissolved oxygen in the first lagoon that's forming this. There's foam on the second lagoon. That's something that has to be investigated. And it's for some really strange reason, it's an intermittent problem. So I've been there personally and have walked around all 5 cells on a day when, and this is very, very recent, there's been absolutely no smell, 0. And the very next day, it was horrendous. So that's a confusing part of it. So here's a picture of the foam that we're encountering in the second cell right now. Potential causes of the current day upset. Too much inert materials entering the system. So we know at times there's sand, there's wipes, all of those things that not just us, but municipalities across the country are dealing with. And we put out in our tax letters and everything that we put out, our newsletters, we always reserve a piece in there of what you're flushing. Really be conscious of what you're flushing. Again, 22,000 people from Coldbrook to Greenwich is a large system. You know, so you're talking about all of the town of Kentville, all of the village in the Minas. The BOD levels being impacted by volume and material, so too much loading. So is there stuff going in there that's just overwhelming? That's not normal. Also, if you can imagine the amount of commercial use, so not necessarily industrial, but commercial use, facilities that generate fats, oils, and grease, which in Director Kerrigan's world is referred to as FOGs. There's also the high levels of ammonia that I mentioned a second ago. So all of those things perhaps could be causes. There could be others. We're consulting with process engineers on a daily basis now. And those problems may even be further compounded by a spring turnover. So what are we doing? People will want to know, well, that's all nice, but what are you doing? And so we had previously, before the upset, commissioned an in-depth engineering review because we're growing, and there's a growing not only residentially, but the potential for growing industrial use of the sewer treatment plant. So we've commissioned a study on mechanical or partial mechanical conversion. So as I started off the presentation talking about biological and other types of technology, so is there a different type of technology? So we've asked for a consultant to advise us on that. We've asked the consultant to look at pre-treatment options. So is there something that we can do to lessen that load, increase oxygen in the water, dissolved oxygen in the water by doing pre-treatment? Before the upset, we had already ordered 2 new high efficiency blowers that are being installed, which will increase the volume of air. Those are supposed to be installed, I believe, this month?
Mid-May.
Mid-May.
Yep.
And we've been looking at upstream mixing equipment, so dealing with anaerobic materials and conveyance lines. So again, our consultants are telling us that part of the problem could be is that we have very long force main lines. So gravity-fed lines, not such a problem for anaerobic Anaerobic meaning it goes septic, you smell it, but when you have conveyance lines, it could be a bit of a different thing. So what can we do in our force main lines upstream with mixing equipment to try to pre-treat before we get to the plant? Continued here, we're conducting an inspection of diffuser conditions. So we're looking to see, do we have a lack of DO? Is it because of the DO is being consumed by the parameters now, like I mentioned, of ammonia, or is it just not getting in the water because we're having plugged physical equipment? So we're looking at that. We're looking at ammonia testing in Lagoon 1, which may be consuming the dissolved oxygen. So this is a phone call we received late this afternoon. And we'd already planned and we're undertaking additional desludging this summer to create more capacity. So again, I feel, I really feel for the community of New Minas in particular and the surrounding communities for what they're going through. We wish you had better things, but there's an array of things that we're trying to solve. We're not alone in the last couple of years. There are communities around the province that are going through this. It's just something that may need a different type of technology. It may need a different type of treatment process during this time of year, so on and so forth. Director Kerrigan and I would be happy to take any questions unless Director Kerrigan has something he wants to add.
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. CAO, and I want to thank you and Director Kerrigan for, on such short notice, to put a presentation together, because you know how serious this is, and people are pretty upset about it, as you can realize. But I know that you're trying to address it and at least keep us informed. So appreciate the presentation, and now we're opening up for questions. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the detailed presentation. I really appreciate having an awareness of the interventions that you're trying to resolve the issue. I'm just a little bit curious. In my recollection, it's been a number of years that there have been odor issues surrounding this facility. I'm curious about last year at this time. Did we have the same odor issues? I'm trying to ascertain if it's an annual event, or is there something different, or is it caused by the turnover, the biological turnover in spring?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, and I'll do my best and then I'll relay to Director Kerrigan, but no, last year. So we thought with the investments that we made, we were on top of this. Now, last year there was a smell, but on closer determination, we found out it was manure spreading from adjacent communities. It wasn't regional. Don't think that's the case now. So I don't know if that, hopefully that that answers your question. I mean, certainly before our investments last year, there was a significant problem. But again, all the desludging, all of the new aeration, all the new yard work, all the reconfiguration that was done, we had, we were receiving, hard to believe, but we were receiving emails thanking and saying, you said. So this is why it's so disheartening of going through a bad period, spending money, having professional advice, and going through a ruckus period now without a concrete. We have some indicators, but at this point in time, I can't stand in front of you and saying this is the smoking gun. This is what's happened.
Yeah. Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick questions that I have with installing screens for the wipes in the sewer, like in subdivisions, to try to trace where some of these, or most of these wipes are coming from. Can we narrow down areas of concern where those wipes are getting in? And of course, I know and understand what happens when they get wrapped around the propellers of things or taking things out. The other one I have is with regards to the power and energy required for the blowers. My understanding is it does take quite a bit of power. So we likely will see an increase if we have two of them running at one time.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The first question was about the tracking of where wipes or anything may come from. We currently don't have any screens or any monitoring in place that can measure that right now, with the exception of, investigating lift stations and see if there's any remnants or any damage that may be along the lift station network through the process. Second question, do you want to repeat that just to?
With regards to the blower, I think I heard a second blower is going to be added.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. We actually have 2 brand new high efficiency blowers that are actually on order, that we ordered last year, that are scheduled to come in and be installed. So right now, I believe there's 3 of 5 blower stations running right now. The other 2 stations have been prepped, and when those compressors go in, then we'll also have to repipe them. So even though the blower installation may be next week or the week after, we're probably realistically looking closer to the end of May before those are completely online. I think the other question or the other comment you had was about power, and yes, the more blowers that are running will definitely direct more electricity and higher power bills as a result. But again, if we get more air in, then that's the price we have to pay to have these systems running properly.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Councillor,
if I could add to that.
Okay, sure.
So, as part of the in-depth review we're looking at, so in terms of the large residential use that Councillor Gates is referring to, we want them to look at grinders. So that would service high intensity residential. And then Director Kerrigan has been looking at, and I don't know if this is a brand name or not, but looking at wet wizards in certain wells to deal with the fog that's coming down and breaking that up so it's not going down the pipe as a mass. So those 2 things may have an impact.
Thank you. Councillor Sappington.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to say thank you to CAO Scott for going down to the facility on a weekend. I know that you and I were fielding many calls. But I do feel the need not to complain, but to just put it on record the scope of what we are dealing with, because we might have some people around the horseshoe that don't smell it on that side of the valley, but I think that I would be safe in saying half the councilors around this horseshoe can smell from their district. I've had calls from surrounding towns, so I'm not just advocating for New Minas here. I am getting calls from, frankly, moms who can't have their children play outside during these gorgeous days because the air seems toxic. They can't hang their laundry outside when we should be able to at springtime. We can literally taste it, and it is very concerning. I'd like to know how long the study will take.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So there's kind of 2 parallel tracks. So the professional advice that we're seeking now is ongoing for the immediate situation and problem. I don't know if there was, so that's the one issue in terms of looking at the technology and sort of medium term or medium to longer term fixes that might be recommended by this consultant. Director Kerrigan, is there a completion date for that optimization study?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe, I can't recall what the completion date is. I'm sure there is through procurement. But as you said, when the study was actually commissioned, there wasn't an issue with odor. So the study scope realistically was to look at that facility and determine what optimization, what improvements need to be made to that plant to make sure that in the year 2025, the year 2050, 2045, 2050, meaning 20 to 25 years from now, what technologies do we need to have in place with the additional growth, with additional development, with additional increases in industry? What does that plant need to have? What changes need to be made to have that long term? With that contract in place, we have basically transitioned what our ask is for from that consultant and said, that's great that we want to know what we have to do 25 years from now, but what we really need today and this week is how do we resolve this odor issue right now?
So I think, Mr. Mayor, if I could, the other part of the optimization, so the bit of a longer term, and we do have a certain amount, a fair amount actually, of data collection points, automated meters, grab samples. So we do physical grab samples. We have equipment that does automated grab samples. But in order for an engineer to design something, my understanding is at least we need to know two basic parameters as load and volume. So they have to have a clear understanding of what's going down the pipe. So there needs to be a collection of data, some additional data to support their.
In other words, it's not an exact science, and you can't pin when.
Forgive me, but I'm not an engineer, but I do notice that the only commercial funding partner that we have listed in our public response that we gave was PepsiCo, but we have other huge facilities that are also straining our sewer system. And I was wondering, is there a way for us to be able to find out when they are perhaps offloading anything from these commercial facilities into our sewage system?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Sappington. So continuous samplers. So these are automated. So we now have one at PepsiCo. We're looking to install one. We've Correspondence. The Director Kerrigan has corresponded with the hospital. So that'll be a data point. And very recently, the town of Kentville has written to the pie plant asking for the same thing, an installation of an automated sampler. So this will be this will get a lot of our data points that we need. And part of our scope is we're asking the consultant who's doing the optimization study, is there any other data points that we need?
I appreciate that. I went on the tours with you, Director Kerrigan. I was wondering, do you think we have the right system in U-? As I noticed, we have a completely different system in Kingston.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe you're referring to Greenwood. We don't have the system.
Yes, I'm sorry, Greenwood.
I don't know. That is for the consultant that has to look at this. It would be preliminary for me to say this is the wrong technology. It is a very large system. I've had other consultants that have told me this is the largest lagoon-based system in Atlantic Canada, that there's nobody of this size in Atlantic Canada besides us, or that was the speculation. So I can't answer that this is the wrong system. This system may need some additional pre-treatment. This may need some additional post-treatment. This may need some, I'll say, at-source pre-treatment. So there's lots of different things that can be looked at, and we're very much looking forward to the recommendations from the consultant to tell us how we need to invest in this system long-term.
My final question, you say it's the largest system in Atlantic Canada of this kind. Do you think even with it being the largest, it may be too small with the amount of growth that we are having?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, you're asking me to speculate on giving an answer that I can't give. That's for the subject matter experts, which are these biologists and consultants that design these systems. I'm not a wastewater designer, so it would be preliminary for me to comment on that.
Thank you.
Okay. All good questions. All right. Deputy Mayor Peckford.
Thank you. Through you. I have a question that sort of plays off Councillor Sappington's question. Without naming any areas to keep privacy, is there any large-scale commercial development or residential development that has come on board in the last few months prior to this that might have had an impact on the sewer system, potential extra flow or chemicals that may have been put down the drain?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Deputy Mayor. So you see me do the head nod over to Director Javerick, and Director Javerick is saying no. I would add, but that, we don't have knowledge if anyone has changed their process. So is the operating profile the same in the last month or so as what it's been previously? So we don't have an answer to that.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing else? I would ask maybe if we could just get a motion to receive CAO's report, moved by Councillor Best, second by Deputy Mayor Peckford. All those in favor, please, for or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. I think what we'll do now, we've been at this almost 2 hours, we'll call a 10-minute recess and reconvene at 8 o'clock. Thank you. reports and committee reports. So we have the Diversity Committee. This report was submitted by Councillor Sappington. Do you have anything that you would like to add to your report, Councillor Sappington? Does anyone have any questions to Councillor Sappington on her report? Okay, would you like to move receipt of your report, Councillor Sappington? Second by Councillor Lutz. All those in favor or against, please press your button. Councillor Hiltz, are you you're in favor? Okay. Councillor Hiltz is in favor also, so motion carried. We'll move on to King's Transit and Valley Waste. My report was there for you. Unless you have any questions, I'll ask somebody to move receipt of my report, please. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Lutz. All those in favor or against, please press your button. Motion carried. Okay. Item 8C, Regional Emergency Management Advisory Report. That was submitted by Dan Stovall. Would somebody like to move receipt of that report? Moved by Councillor Hilt, second by Councillor Gates. All those in favor or against, please press your button. Councillor Gates says that he voted in favor of that too. Clerk, I don't know. It seems to be a problem on that side. This side, they don't miss it.
Is there an IT glitch here?
Well,
Absolutely not. Oh, Dan Getty, he's in the building.
Motion carried. Valley Community Fiber Network. This report was submitted by Councillor Sappington. Do you have anything to add to that report, Councillor Sappington? No. Any questions to Councillor Sappington? No? Okay. Would you like to move receipt of your report? Moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Lutz. All those in favor or against, please vote. Well, look at that. We even got Hiltz and Gates on the board this time. Thanks, Riley Everett, for all. Motion carried. All right. Committees of council. Is there any verbal committees of council anyone would like to report on? No? Okay. External boards and committees. Okay, Councillor Harding.
I don't know if this is the right time, but I just wanted to comment on the NSFM that Councillor McPherson, myself, Sappington, and the mayor spent a few days up at the meeting, and we come away with a lot of knowledge. And we talked to a lot of people here in the province, and it was a really good sessions. And thank you very much for everybody that attended. And thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. And I'll make a quick comment too, because of the the few days that I was away. First, I went to my good friend Billy Joe McLean, longtime mayor of Port Hawkesbury's funeral. Great guy. And then I went from there. I went to the up to Cumberland to the with Emily and not Emily Lutz, but Emily Boucher. For the Wren, and that was a regional Wren, and I was quite impressed with the reports that went on there. And one question that come up, and I think that you should be all aware of, and which I thought was wonderful. We had the CEO for the Cape Breton natives, and we had this the CEO Mike Peters for Glooscap here in locally, and the question was that a lot of the chiefs have said that they are against fracking, and what is your opinion of the province looking to do more fracking and development? And both CAOs, because I asked Mike Peters afterwards, stated that they feel that the chiefs would go along with development in Nova Scotia as long as the province can prove that the technology now can make it safe for the land and the water. So that's just, I'm just throwing that out because a lot of municipalities are getting requests to support the provincial government's idea that we need to do development, and this province needs to do something, that's for sure. I was quite impressed with that answer, and I think it's a great answer. If you can prove it can be done safely, we're interested. If you can't prove that it can be done safely, we shouldn't be interested. And from there, along with Everett and Tim, and Christina, we were all at the NSFM, and I thought that Christina's a board member, so she's very active at NSFM. But our own Brittany did a fantastic job in a presentation, and we were, I think all four of us was very proud of the job that she did. And when they said, Brittany Trainer from the County of Kings, and she made us all proud. So that was a great experience. So anyway, so those are just comments of being away, and you certainly can learn a lot from these people. And I'm going to Councillor Sappington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was going to be my sentiment as Chair of Diversity Kings. What I did see was that the province is requiring us to have anti-hate and racism plans put together. They had it by April 1st, and the County of Kings has much to be proud of because we had already been at the forefront of that, and that is why our staff, like Brittany Trainer, was able to do a presentation for NSFM. That was my sentiment. Thank you.
Well, and thank you, Councillor Sappington, for your leadership in that, and certainly Brittany's and her staff, because they are doing us proud. All right, we'll move on then to correspondence. We have from International Network of Michelin Cities for information. We also have for information, the Village of Cornwallis Square name change. We also have on 9C, Minister of Energy Management and Fire Services review for information. And 9D, we have municipalities to the Minister of Community, Culture, Tourism, and Heritage, re the Annapolis Valley Regional Library. And this was signed by the mayors and warden of all municipalities in the valley and West Hants. 9E, we had a response from the Minister of Communities, Culture, and Tourism, and Heritage, re the Annapolis Valley Library. That was a letter in response to the letter to Minister Ritzy supporting libraries. And F, Municipal Affairs re wind turbine setbacks. If there's any questions, we would refer those to Trish Javrick on this, on the wind turbine setbacks. Maybe I'll open the floor up. Is there any questions to Director Javrick on that? No? We'll move on then. And also, for information, the Mayor of Colchester to the Minister Lore re the wind turbine setbacks and Colchester's response to the municipal affairs. And last but not least, of course, is the Village of Neminas location for a regional recreation center, of which I responded to the letter by email. So those were correspondence for your information that we received. So, is there any other business coming before council? Councillor Best.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little note on fundraising in District 6. We had 3 successful fundraisers in District 6. One was at Cambridge Elementary School. As you'll be aware that they're trying to build a new playground at $170,000. We helped them put on a dinner and auction that we raised $74,000 that night. And I'd like to thank the mayor and the council who attended the meal. Thank you very much for the supporting in District 6. At that time, $50,000 came from the Coldbrook Lions Club. Great supporter. The next event was the Central Kings Safe Grad. 300 people there. And that night we raised just a little over $32,000 for Safe Grad. The 3 events, we served over 800 meals with 126 volunteers. That 3 events. The big event was the Apple Dome. As you're well aware, it's a rink in the town. Probably 85-90% is out from the municipal, the County of Kings, which will take in from Aylesford to Coldbrook, who uses that facility, especially the high schools from Central Kings. That night we raised $51,000 in odd change just in the dinner and auction. As you're well aware, we're trying to buy a new Zamboni at $220,000, plus compressors need some work in. That's going to cost $50,000 to $60,000. We were very pleased that Kentville Chrysler came on board for $25,000. The Berwick District Lions Club $25,000. Larry's Drugstore $25,000. Kinsman Construction $25,000. And our local Kings Mutual Insurance Company, which the rink is called the Kings Mutual Century Center, $20,000. On top of that, the MLA, Chris Palmer, is getting a check for $75,000 towards these projects. So it was a great 3 events, and I'm very pleased. In the fall, we're going to try to do another dinner and auction, so I'll be out selling tickets to try to support a pickleball court in Coldbrook. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Best, and congratulations on your auctioneering skills. I was attending along with Councillor McPherson and Councillor Harding and Councillor Lutz and Councillor Sappington, and I sat there a couple of times. I needed to wipe my nose, and I was scared to death to move my hand because I didn't know how much it was going to cost me.
I got a barbecue by going like this.
Anyway, you did a great job, and you raised a lot of money for a lot of great causes. We recognize that. All right, so now, Tim, how you You're the only one, buddy, huh? So, so if there's any member of the public that would like to come forward and address council, now's the time to do that. And I'd recommend that if you do that, there's probably 8 councillors and a mayor that you would criticize, but there's one you better not. All right. Well, I think it's been a good evening, and I'm going to declare meeting adjourned.